So, if you're looking at the set right now, you're like, whoa, what happened? So, our normal desk has been moved across the way. And right now it's all full of stuff. Because Jack and I constructed these 3 tables by hand out of beech wood.
Yeah.
Some of the beech wood, some nice staining.
You have a lathe and
we had a lathe. I'm actually
carved it on your own.
Yeah, I'm weaving the rug that's going to go here eventually on my loom. So I have a loom.
Yeah, we've moved backwards in time.
But look, here's the thing: the best things are done on looms. The best art is loom-based art.
How many can you name?
Obviously there's Jensen Fargman's. Yeah, I don't know, but
I was wondering how long you were going to continue that bit.
No. So we are here on the main set now, and I think this might be where this show lives too.
It's so open.
It's open.
I mean,
this
room in itself is an open concept, but
Yes.
for some reason, moving that over here, there's so much more room for activities.
Exactly. That was our mantra, Garrett. Is that not true in us? Saying Step Brothers, there'll be so much more room for activities. So many more activities because now we actually can do 4 sets in one.
Yeah.
The way that we do this. So it's kind of exciting. So if you're watching, just know that it's going to have a bit of an under construction feel for a minute because we have to figure out functionality before fashion.
Right.
And plus, the loom and all. You can't rush loom.
Mm-mm.
No, but nobody ever says, "Hey, hurry up on that loom."
By the way, I know it Noom is an app. What Loom not being the name of an app feels like somebody is missing something.
Yeah, you could
feels like a sleep app,
or you could make custom carpets with it. So if we wanted to make a carpet with our logo on it, I would go to Loom,
right.
And I would be like, oh, here's the logo. We'd like it to be black.
I gotta tell you, my wife would actually have a subscription to Loom.
To Loom?
Yeah.
You have a lot of.
There would be so many carpets in our house.
So many carpets, or whatever else you make with looms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
We know a lot about history and the history of art and the history of making things on this show. This is what this is about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's we're gonna really get into artisanship.
Everyone has a podcast these days.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, into artisanship. Jack actually did most of the work. And I said this on the show yesterday when we were talking to Garrett about some of the things we've done in the studio over the last couple of days. Sunday and Monday, Jack and I were here. After hours on Monday, and then Sunday we spent a good chunk of our day here. And I say we did a lot of work. Jack did most of it while I was the assistant. You remember when you would help your dad with something? It's very much that feeling of okay, now untangle these cords.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay.
Okay, I want you to run this cord from there to over here. Then last night I messed it up, and he's like, no, that's not what I told you to do. You got to do it again. And I was like, this is totally like being with your dad and him okay, look, now I appreciate that you did it that way, but that's not what I told you, right? And you're like, no. Okay.
My dad had
I'll do it again.
My dad had a lot of patience for us growing up, but there would be some times when we'd be you'd be fixing a sink or something tedious rather, and it would be oh, I forgot the Phillips head screwdriver, and then you came back with a flathead screwdriver, and it was I'm seeing red right now.
Yeah.
And I know my dad was patient with us growing up, but there are some times where he's cannot be this stupid.
No.
You cannot. Come on.
Has your dad ever slapped your hand away?
No.
No. Hey, no.
Don't touch that.
Yeah.
I forget.
I remember it happened one time when I was 28 years old, and I was like, "Hey, I'm trying to help you here." And he's like, "No, go away."
The Ron Swanson. I know more than you.
Yeah, exactly. When I was 8 years old, we lived in Bossier City, Louisiana, and it was fall. There were leaves all over the place, and my dad had just gotten a new rake. He refused leaf blower. I don't know why. He was just
the principal.
He was a bit of a he was a bit of a Luddite when it came to that. He's like, no, we have rakes for a reason, and I have an 8-year-old son.
Ugh.
He can hold a rake.
worst.
So but he didn't get rid. My dad was he was a minor hoarder. Mm-hmm. Like he had a touch of the hoard.
Yeah.
Like not all. Like he was a high functioning hoarder, but
the workbench is exactly how I want it.
Exactly.
Shut up.
So when he bought the new rake, he didn't get rid of the old one, which was bent all, like he ran over it with his
Had
truck.
holes in it.
So it was bent there was all going in a different direction. In the midst of us starting me raking the lawn, I yelled at my sister for something, which I'm sure she deserved. But he then took the good rake, went and got me the bad one, and said, "You finish with this."
What a punishment.
Oh, it was, and like
You now have bad rake.
It was psychological warfare.
Yeah,
And that's when I was like, well, he was a Nam, so he knows some things. But like he's a Vietnam veteran. So I was like, is this what they made you do in the Army? Like, and so I was raking the leaves, and my neighbor, Mr. Dave, comes out and goes, "Hey, you shouldn't be using that busted rake." He's like, hell he shouldn't. And like it was that like dad code, like, and then like he goes over and like sits with the good rake, watching me, having a cup of coffee, and talking with our neighbor like nothing happened, and they just both knew like, oh, Paul must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
And this is a psychological punishment and a physical one at the same time, and we'll see how many leaves he can rake. And it really got hard with the ones on the driveway. In the grass, like you could like do things, but on the driveway, oh my God.
Hey,
you know what? We had a big lawn anyway, but what should have been a 2-hour job, like he didn't even stop it. Like when it hit 4 hours, he came and goes, "Here's the other one."
Yeah,
and
now finish.
I was like, oh great.
You know what? Just beat me. You know what? Just give me a whooping at that point. I'll use the good rake if you just hit me with a switch. Like I don't know, like at that point.
Like, can we negotiate spanking? I know like you got your big belt buckle. I'll take that to the jaw right now if you want. Like I can't do this anymore. You have broken me.
Things are going bad. Things are going bad. Just give me the belt.
All right, okay. When you and Mom fell asleep on New Year's, I watched 2 R-rated movies. And the other day, I was like Chunk in the Goonies.
In one time, I ate all the ice cream in it.
One time, I went to the balcony of the movie theater, and I went, and then everybody started throwing up. Like, I was like Chunk. I was absolutely like Chunk.
Speaking of raking leaves, one time my dad, like straight up, I'll never let him lift this down because the fall doesn't come in East Texas really, but we had 2 big oak trees and they would like.
But when it comes, they would
shed these little leaves like this.
Yeah, today's fall.
Yeah, exactly. All of it happened. And we had, a really big yard and he would be like, okay, now it's time to rake it up. And we had leaf blowers too, but he's just like, no, go do it. And then bag it too.
Yeah.
And so my brother and I would do that, but eventually they would fall on our roof, and our roof was sloped like this, and there was a little bit of a lip that like you could put 2 feet on if you were a child, which we were. Dad said, crawl out the upstairs window and go sweep off or blow off the roof. My brother and I were 10 and 8 years old. And he's like, get on the roof. It is a precipitous fall to the ground. And he's just like, what's the problem? And we're up there like this. And he, don't you drop that broom. I'm not handing you back up the broom. I'll never forget it.
Yeah. No.
This is the thing. He'll be like, oh, I'm such a bad dad. But I've never forgotten that.
I'm not a dad. Garrett's kids are very chill.
They are.
And so you don't really have to worry about this, do you?
With Parker, I do, because if he gets loose, there's no telling what he's going to get into.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
That's my brother's name, and that sounds exactly like a Parker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I can see. Actually, I can see that.
He definitely would.
By the way, my dad did fall off that roof later.
Yeah. See, Griswolded it just all the way down.
He was just doing something, and he just like ba-doom, doom, doom, and fell. And anyway, that's a whole other story. But.
Yeah. So let's get to it. First topic I want to talk about today. Who is Georgia? Is Georgia the team we saw absolutely curb stop Clemson?
Yeah.
Or is Georgia the team that played very uninspiring football against a very uninspiring Kentucky team.
Yeah.
Who then made a decision that I think is, I get it. Like in the football coach's manual, like if you went through Mark Stoops was like, hold on, let's see what the instructions say here. It would be like, well, if you have multiple timeouts and there's this much time on the clock, the safe way and the clear way to go is punting and play the field position game.
Hate it.
But like there should be an addendum of, if you're playing the number one team in the country who hasn't lost a conference game in the regular season in well over 2 seasons, maybe, just maybe, you want to take a chance.
The NFL, when was this in the game? Because I watched the end of the game. I didn't see.
It was in the fourth quarter. Then it was
in the waning moments. Yeah, I thought I had seen this part of the game because it was like still going on after the Baylor matchup. But I turned it on and they just kept saying like Kentucky's going to be out of time. Kentucky's going to be out of time. And lo and behold, they had to go like 80 yards to win the game, which happens so often with these coaches. These old school, which I would equate Mark Stoops to sort of an old school ball coach. And, he's had pretty successful offenses in his time and kind of revolutionized that Kentucky team and brought it into the 21st century. But there's a thing in the NFL called the surrender index. You've seen this on Twitter, I'm sure, and the audience has as well, where they'll measure the time it takes they'll measure the time left in the game plus the yardage marker, and if you punted or went for it or whatever, and it is for punts, and I would say depending on where their field position was, I forgot where it was. They were on the plus side of the 50, right? Mm-hmm. So they're in plus territory. The surrender index on that would probably be in like the 80th or 90th percentile. And look, I understand that a lot of these coaches come from, the Bill Parcells school of like, make your defense win the game, let your defense win the game and you can come in back and get it, and the whole timeouts. But I also think that a lot of coaches just genuinely don't know how to time manage either. Mm-hmm. Like, now they just don't think how much time runs off the clock. You see it in the NFL all the time. And in college football, too. It can be even worse. But they just genuinely don't think that, oh, well, they haven't gotten first downs this entire time. Why would they be able to get first downs now? It's like, well, they're Georgia. They should be able to get a first down and milk the rest of this clock, the rest of this clock. To that end, the surrender index had to have been huge. I don't know if they have it for college, but you have to go for it in said situation because I just know a lot of these coaches don't go off of vibes, and maybe there should be a vibes coordinator on the sideline that just says, Coach, if we punt this football, the vibes are not great.
Yeah.
And that's all they do. Because everybody at home could have been like, Georgia's going to win this football game, probably.
Yeah.
And look, you may not get it, and you may be called – I would rather be called an idiot for trying to go for it, like go for 2 to win the football game, or go for the touchdown on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal when those situations come up. Jim Harbaugh is like this, where he's just like, I'm just going to kick the field goal and let things fall where they may. Yeah. He's very much like that, but it's worked out for him. If you're Kentucky battling uphill, you've already gotten this far. You got to go for it. What do you have to lose? That's the other thing. The vibes coach also is the what do we have to lose coordinator.
Yeah.
And, I mean, genuinely, like, kicking it when you're down, say you need 2 scores anyway, and you go ahead and kick the field goal instead of going for the touchdown initially, that sort of thing irritates me. And, punting, actually, I think you never should punt in plus territory, to be completely honest with you. But anyway, I'm going on and on. To answer your question, I think Georgia's closer to the team that we saw against Clemson than they are to the team that had a tough time against Kentucky.
Yeah.
They have had a lot of things going on with that program still, driving incidents.
Yeah.
galore. But I kind of think that they are closer to the team, or will be closer to the team that just ran roughshod over Clemson than they are going to be the one that goes into Kentucky and is like not ready to play.
Okay. My assessment also right now, if you look at NFL draft rankings, Carson Beck, everybody's got him as their number one quarterback.
Yep.
I don't know if that, I think he's good. I don't know if he's that good. He's kind of blah to me, but blah can be good. And he's not he's rarely been put in a position where he's got to make ridiculous plays because the rest of the team around him is so good. Now, if it were me drafting for next year, I would certainly have guys like Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward and Quinn Ewers a little higher than him. And this is not a quarterback class like last year where you have Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels at the top. Those guys.
It's more akin to the Stroud class and the Bryce Young class, but they don't have massive outliers like Bryce Young was.
Yeah.
To sort of go back and forth where probably we should just take Stroud, who fits that sort of blah pocket passer mode, not the biggest arm sort of thing like that. There was more stuff on tape that could suggest that Stroud could make plays out of structure than what they necessarily saw on draft day. But yeah, Carson Beck hasn't been able to. He's kind of the term park and bark. He just is I'm just gonna sit here, sing my songs like Adele. I'm gonna sit here and sing my songs and then get off the stage.
Yeah.
And they haven't asked him to make a lot of plays off structure. It's hit your playmakers. But I still think he has a really talented arm. But,
Yeah, well, and we'll see. Again, I'm not but I was talking to a friend this weekend, and he's like, what do you think? I said, he's fine. Believe me, I'm not, as a fan, in a position to criticize anybody else's quarterback right now. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, no, I would rather have this guy. Would I rather have, if I'm building a team, would I rather have a Cam Ward than him? Yeah, I think because it's maybe I like the adrenaline a little bit more, but there's not many people I would rather have than him.
It's a sexy pick.
Yeah. Quinn Ewers gets better and better and better. The only knock on Quinn Ewers is he has a little bit of he's going to miss 2 or 3 games a year. Garrett?
No, he's got an injury history going back to high school. He's been hurt every year.
Yeah, he gets hurt. So
he's put on weight, he's put off weight, yada, yada, yada. And it's not a lingering issue, or not. It's not one thing he has a knee problem.
Oh, he had last year was an elbow. This year it's the oblique. It's something. So those are the things that would scare me off. And not he's hurt bad, injured terribly, but every year there's going to be kind of something. Well, he did have the bad injury in high school, right?
Yeah, because he missed. Well, he got hurt his junior year, and then he skipped his senior year. So he was.
Yeah. So, and part of it, I think part of the growing pains for Quinn Ewers was he didn't play football for 2 full years.
Yeah.
He didn't, he skipped his senior. He didn't play. He got hurt in junior year, skipped his senior year. Then he came to Texas and started. But
he early enrolled at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then he ended up transferring to Texas.
Yeah, he was 17 when he went to Ohio State.
Yeah.
He was, Trey Lance in that way, if you wanted to have a comparison. Now, he's not the athletic freak that Trey Lance was, but, the 49ers drafted Trey Lance and all of a sudden forgot that he just hadn't played football. Mm-hmm. It's oh, wait, he can't do this. It's you don't have enough tape. I'm not saying you don't have enough tape now on Quinn Ewers, but, the injury thing would be concerning. I don't think quite frankly, his measurables are jump off the page to me. He's not the 6'4", 200. He's not Andrew Luck.
No.
He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he makes plays and he gets the ball to his playmakers. There's something to be said about that. I think this is going to sound like a hater. I think somebody's going to overdraft Quinn Ewers because they always do. I'm not saying he can't be a good quarterback, but in years past where you would have these outstanding prospects, I don't know, we've kind of gotten off our skis of how quickly we're drafting quarterbacks now because we just go through these things, like candy. They're just they're just picking out of the jar.
There's a really good chance Bryce Young, after 2 years, is no longer with the Panthers now that he's been benched.
And he hasn't been good, but
they also broke him.
Yeah, they also didn't support him at all. There's this cyclical nature of these NFL teams where they're like, we're not good. Let's take a quarterback that's going to make us good. Oh, wait, we're still not good. Get rid of quarterback. Let's, and not focus on changing some other things and hope that Justin Herbert turns into something good, which he did. Yeah. But they didn't address a lot of other things with the Chargers, and Justin Herbert just was good.
Well, like
Stroud carried that team. Everybody predicted that team was going to be bad for the Texans last year. Everybody had him winning like 4 games, and he just was good. And now they had the opportunity to build upon that. The problem is that these bad teams, say if you miss or if he's not an X factor right away, the problem becomes then we don't have room to like let him grow, because everything in the NFL is promoted to win now. NFL teams do not like tanking. And I got to tell you, David Tepper especially does not like the position that they're in right now. So I think the problem with some of these quarterbacks, and like unfortunately, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to probably be a case study in this. I think he can be really good in the NFL, but because of his arm talent, he made a couple throws against Colorado State that were unbelievable. But because of his arm talent and his mobility and the ability to make plays out of structure, he can be good in a bad situation. But he's also not asked to go through, like you saw Bo Nix struggling with the Sean Payton offense this weekend. Like that Colorado offense isn't that complicated.
Yeah.
So he's going to, a lot of these quarterbacks in these offenses are going to have to like be really tasked with growing up in a hurry. And the problem is that if they're overdrafted and you don't sit like they're giving Penix the opportunity to do in Atlanta, then it's going to be really, really tough. And then people are going to say, oh, well, I told you so. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so there's a whole thing, and we're doing it now, but overdrafting quarterbacks, expecting them to be good, and when they're not good, their career is shot, and then they have to like journey around like Sam Darnold until they find an actually good head coach to correct it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, there are guys also that, like, they're good, and it just needs to be, they just need the better system. Now, I thought for Bryce Young, just as a side note, Dave Canales would be able to work with him, but the problem is not just Bryce Young. They have a lot of issues.
They have a terrible offensive line. Their skill, like Deontay Johnson's probably their best wide receiver. They have like 38-year-old
Adam Thielen
running routes out there. It's not good. I know we were supposed to be talking about Georgia, but
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next up, who's going to beat Texas? Their schedule's, like outside of a couple, pretty favorable. I'm going to throw them out to you, Royden, of who I think can beat them. And you give me on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely that one is. Okay?
Sure.
We'll do it that way because I do think that right now, the way that they look, now they have not been challenged yet. That's coming. But, man, they've got ULM and Mississippi State for the next 2 weeks, then a bye. We'll get to it.
Okay.
And then after that, that's where the run is going to get interesting because I think they have 3 tough games, then 3 games they shouldn't, and then 1 game that will be interesting.